Welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in, sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome back. If you have, my intention is unity and oneness. I wanted to go into a little bit of flow. Lots of influx of energies coming in constantly. Many of us are feeling it. Some of us aren't sure exactly how to interpret these energies. One of the things that my guides have been kind of sharing with me is we're being called to interpret. We're being called to feel. We're being called to sense and use all of our senses so that we can start to recognize that we're getting what we asked for. It just may not come in the same packaging that we expected it to come in, so on and so forth. But that was part of the message that was coming through. The other message I wanted to share was there is going to be an extreme influx of energies on a regular basis that is meant to come in and uplift us, to bring us into a higher state of awareness. And a lot of us know that. Some people are still in resistance over it, meaning people are still in this space where they are having these expectations that they're going to slow down, or things are going to start to look more normal again, or we're going to come into a place where all of a sudden things are going to feel totally stable and balanced. And that might be true for some of us. If you're like me, I'm just trying to ride those waves the best that I can and share with you guys the way in which what I learned when I rode that wave. So I think we're all kind of doing that to a certain extent. So without further ado, let me go into a little bit of flow. And so the codes that are coming in or dropping in are more about codes on how to live. Yes, we are learning about our future, and yes, we are having many different pieces and bits of information come in about potential world catastrophes, play on words, potential world events that may create a sense of disharmony or a ripple of fear in and amongst the human collective. But we invite you to tune into the deeper message, the deeper sounds, the deeper signatures that are behind all of those stories or old paradigms that are currently in the process of being rebalanced, we could say, or balancing out and moving away from the old way in which we used to play. So if the entire game is shifted and the way in which we play the game has shifted, then we would invite you to ask, why am I still playing the same game? Why am I still playing the same way that I used to play this old game if that is no longer applicable to the new set, the new codes, the new way of playing? And many are in question of, how should I play then if this is the case? And we would invite you to say, play. We would invite you to say, allow yourselves to move away from the divisiveness of the particular landscape that many of us have been factored into, as the play on words, factored into for eons. We would invite you to choose a new way of thinking. We would invite you to choose a new way of playing. We would invite you to be playful and come into a place or a space of higher vibration. And the only way that this is accessed or felt or accessible through the feelings is through feelings. So we are being invited to play with this accessibility and these new abilities, but we cannot do this until we move away from the old probabilities. So why are we still tuning into old probabilities that are attached to old timelines, that are attached to old stories, that are attached to old drama, and so on and so forth, that are attached to old traumas, that are attached to old memories, that are creating many of the same memorizations of the traumas of the so on and so forth? Play on words, I'm seeing SEW. So when we continually play out those same play with the same words, play with the same realities, listen to the same messages that are repeating patterns, just told in a slightly different variation, we are not necessarily really part of the new creation. We are then embedded in through unconsciousness versus awareness, that keeps us going in that same cyclical pattern and allows that pattern to harness energy off of us rather than us harnessing the energy into the creation of a new pattern. Meaning, rather than us utilizing our full ability to, I'm hearing, harmonize and harness the frequencies and energies that are coming in that keep us from being distracted by the old. So this is a message we have told over and over again, and many others are also sharing. Yet we understand it is difficult for us to let go of the old story at times, especially if we have been deeply traumatized by it. And let us play with the word traumatic for a moment. I wasn't planning on going here, but I guess we're going to. I'm being called to play with that, so I will. Okay, how do you play with the word trauma? Let me turn this down a little bit. I've got all these lights on because the light is so weird in here. Okay. So if we tune into trauma, let me just play with this for a bit. Okay. So we're going to tune into the word trauma. I'm on Edom Online. I love this little website. Hurt, defeat. Extended form of root to rub or turn. Twisting, piercing. Sense of psychic wound. Unpleasant experience which causes abnormal stress. Could be a physical wound. And oh boy, I see where we're going to play with this. This is so interesting. To strike, to rub. Okay. So trauma can be interpreted in a myriad of ways. And bottom line is, I've got to turn off these lights for a minute. They're really kind of bright. Okay, I changed the filter in here so I can turn the lights way down and not be so harsh on my eyes. It's kind of a weird color in here and it's dark. But I think that basically what my guides are kind of sharing is let's play with the word trauma, because we see trauma as something that's been done to us, right? We see it as something that's been done to us rather than recognizing that sometimes it's created by us, for us, from us. And all of us hold these traumatic memories in our bodies, also in our psyche. And I'm being called to play with this. If we could reorganize the way in which we handle trauma and recognize that we've all got it, whether it's ancestral, whether it's in this lifetime or another lifetime, whether it's because our parents said something to us like, well, you're never going to add up to be this, or you aren't worth that, or nobody's going to love you, whatever it might be, that gets anchored into our psyche from a very young age. It can come from the television. We can be traumatized by a show we watched. I personally was traumatized by and from Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I found that movie and the movie It highly traumatizing. And so I'm giving that as a funny example because my guides are like, yeah, play with that. Recognize that we've all had something, whether it's from a movie or something more serious in our lives. And I'm going to go into that serious mode for a moment because some of us have really lived with very traumatic events, death of a loved one, death of a partner, a divorce, abuse from a parent, right? Or a sibling. And I could go on and on and on. These are all from one extreme to another, things that each individual holds inside of them. Now, we oftentimes can project those onto, or we can be traumatized by what we are watching. So it can go both ways. I don't know if this is making sense. But essentially what my guides are sharing is, why keep doing that to ourselves? Like if we're in an abusive relationship, is it maybe at this point time to leave? If we are abusing ourselves and using words that are I'm stupid, or whatever it might be. Why would we keep doing that to ourselves? All of these things are being called because that is an old pattern that's been played out. It's an old program that's been running over and over and over again. What I'm being shown is a treadmill. It's keeping us running on this treadmill and not really getting anywhere in those particular areas of our lives, and even areas of our lives that we may not realize that they're affecting. And sometimes it's just a pattern. And what I'm being shown is that's attached to our memory, which is attached to what was. So some of us are so caught up in those, or we haven't fully integrated those parts of ourselves or those memories, or helped work through some of those feelings. And not all trauma necessarily has to be associated with the feeling. I mean, the memory, well, that's not true. It's deeper than that. But what my guides are basically saying is, let's address that now so that we can shift our address. So let's recognize that our address is where we call home. How are we cleaning our house? How are we treating our house? How are we honoring our home? And I'm hearing home is where the heart is. So are we getting to the heart of the matter? Are we feeling into what it is that we really desire, want, and fulfilling our needs? Are our needs being met? And are we allowing ourselves to feel fulfilled by our needs being met? Oh, we could go into so many different layers here. Sometimes individuals are unfulfilled because they always feel as if they are lacking something inside of them. But we are already complete and fulfilled. And in this moment, we are being invited to clear out these distortions. And how do we do that? Well, we do that through movement, dance, sound, any forms of energy work, therapy, right? All these tools that are available to us, let's use them, is what I'm being shown. They are helping us to assimilate ourselves, put ourselves back together, not that we were ever separate from ourselves. They're helping us to assimilate and put our pieces together that we may feel like we're lost or lacking in, or we may feel as if we're missing. So when we do this inner work, it helps us to stabilize the frequencies and let go of the idea that these other frequencies are working against us. It takes us away from us versus them, or the inability to forgive, the inability to find our voice, the inability to recognize that all of us are on a different level of awareness, and also not continuing to repeat those patterns so that we do not add more trauma to the collective experience. There's a lot of people who are feeling the need to take up a cause when in actuality that cause is creating more trauma, because the cause is based on an old cycle, an old pattern. And so we're being invited to ask ourselves, am I in my heart? Am I in a place of compassion? Am I in a place of recognition of the deeper I am, awareness, and recognizing what I am not through unawareness, right? Meaning the unawareness is what creates the separation. So that is what is continuing to create more and more trauma and traumatic behavior, and this victimization of us versus them, or again, bringing us back to any other state that isn't love, that isn't compassion, that isn't appreciation for what we have, gratitude. And if we feel that and we recognize that, anything that comes up in the form of anger, resentment, blame, rage, jealousy, right? vindication, all of these things, all of those words that we attach value to start to lose their value because we recognize that all of those things that I just labeled, all of those labels, all of those names create a sense of separation because it takes us away from working together. It takes us away from working together with ourselves in oneness. It takes us away from organization, right? And takes us into entropy. It takes us into chaos. So chaos is the old paradigm because through chaos creates separation and through separation creates control. So while it seems as if people are fighting to take back control, in actuality, they are fighting because they are being controlled by the old reality that is under a false pretense. And this is a play on words. It's pretend. That need to fight against each other is actually a pretend story. It's false, it's forced, it's being forced, it's feeling forceful. So how do we do that though when everything is so divided? And what I'm being shown is the division is the divisiveness. Who is creating the division? And it's not about like, again, who is that? Is it them? Is it this? Is it person A? Is it group B? Coming back to humanity and recognizing that our humanity is worth, I'm hearing saving, but it's not like a savior mentality. We are here to save our own humanness, allow ourselves to feel human, and not only be led by logic or only be led by emotion. When we're only leading or being led by or leading others by those limited resources, they take us down a path of limitation. They take us down a path of limited resources. So there has to be, it's a fine line. And I understand there's a lot of passion that's coming up because of unresolved trauma. But we cannot resolve that by creating more trauma. It just creates an endless cycle of more of those things. So treating one another with kindness and care is so important, you know, supporting one another. But we also have to support ourselves. So, okay. And we have a deeper root system into the source, the wellspring, the spring that comes, I'm hearing the spring that runneth over, the cup that runneth over. For when we bring ourselves into a state of coherence and flow, we know, be still and know thyself. The words that then flow forth are words that offer strength, that offer unionship, that offer the ability for us to feel a communion with one another and with solutions that allow balance and a harmonious representation of the humanness, the human that we all are. So rather than fighting against ourselves, it's like biting off, what's that word? Biting off our hand. I always forget that. I always mess those up. To spite ourselves, is that how it goes? Biting off our own hand to spite ourselves. I don't know, something like that. And so whether we are right or whether we are wrong is not the matter at hand. The matter at hand is whose hand is pointing the finger and how many fingers are there in this, I'm being shown like this circle all pointing at each other. Do you remember the three finger, when you point, there's three fingers pointing back at you? So it's time to start looking within and recognizing that we have all hurt. We have all been hurt. We all feel hurt at times. We have all been misled. We have all misled others in this or many other lifetimes. We have all been there, done that, and this is true. So when we look at me and you, we are looking at the truth of the skin suit. We're looking at this skin suit that we see, but the deeper truth lies beyond the lies, beyond the, I'm hearing outliers, liars. The truth lies beyond the eyes and what it is that we see. So I'm kind of being shown that our eyes, like what we're seeing, our eyes are lying to us because we're not really seeing the whole truth. We're not really seeing the deeper layer. We're being called to see with eyes to see. And we see with eyes to see, we let go of the need for jealousy, envy, revenge, blame, wrath, judgment, all of these things that we don't really want projected at us. So why are we projecting those things on others? It's this need to feel like we are right because it's a matter of wanting to be in control. But it's more than that. So I'm being called, if we take a step back and we look within and we look with eyes to see, we see humanity. We see brothers and sisters. We see the ability to create a landscape. We create an ability to let go of conflict. And once we do that, we feel less conflicted. We be still and know. We know what needs to be done to create the world that we wish to see with eyes to see. And as we do this, we unfold into the new reality, supporting the new reality and doing it consciously, co-creatively, consciously creating and paving the new road and allowing the old road to dissolve and be integrated into, I'm hearing composted. Let it go. Quit creating more of the old again and again and again. So we share this message to bring a sense of inner strength, to bring a sense or to present a sense of inner vitality so that we can feel this inner strength in order to come together to co-create a new reality that is built on truth and the strength that comes with that truth, not the truths that we have been told that are not necessarily, I'm just laughing because of a synchronicity, the truth that is, I'm hearing the one ring to rule them all kind of thing. It's like, it's beyond the ring. It's beyond the power. It's beyond all of that. That's the only truth, which is love, which is it's challenging, isn't it, to kind of let go of these old things? And yet, in just finding those moments of compassion, clarity comes, and we have answers that we've been looking for. We begin to find a rational and logical, yet heart-centered path forward. We begin to find words that we associate with new levels of awareness. We begin to have new levels of awareness and use better words to communicate with one another. And these choices are then made in a constant state of flow. And once this constant state of flow is brought forward in a more consistent dialogue, we begin to recognize when the words that we were using no longer fit in the new dialogue, discourse. They no longer fit because the discord that we were once talking about no longer fits in what we wish or choose to, I'm hearing converse over, talk about, or create through the power of words. So we invite you to use your words with care. We invite you to use your words with precision and heartfelt currency so we can add value to the new reality. So we can create through sound mind, sound heart, through the sound of the heart that allows us to begin anew, create a new start, to start now, for all is already in the works. And as we work together, we find the words to allow ourselves to work together. So let us continue in this fluid momentum. For the energies that are coming in are giving us momentum to heighten our state of awareness. And as we heighten our state of awareness, our state of expansibility, our state of expansion, we become more aware of the heightened state that some are in that are creating a sense of disturbance in this momentum. So we invite you to open your hearts and allow all to unfold from there, from that place. And through the heart mind, through the heart brain, through this heart innate inner intelligence, we begin to truly and breathtakingly expand. And as we do this, we begin to see. We begin to see all. So I'm being shown all the things that we couldn't see before, we're starting to see it now. We're seeing the discord, we're seeing the incoherence, we're seeing that certain things aren't adding up. We're not only seeing it, but we're also seeing the future now. And we're the ones that are creating it. So we begin to say, let's co-create this together. And while we're working on that other stuff that doesn't make sense, that doesn't allow expansion, isn't going to continue building on itself if we are building from the true heart-centered place of innate inner creativity, passion, compassion, right? So playing with that a little bit. So in love and light, guys, I know that there's some things, going on around us that can feel very difficult to witness. And again, helping one another by offering our support. Someone who needs a meal, someone who needs a hug, someone who needs help around their house, someone who needs the door opened for them. Maybe whatever it might be, moment to moment to moment, that is where the shift begins. So in love and light, guys. And no matter what, they're human, right? Just recognizing that humanness in each and every one of us is so important right now. In love and light. Namaste.